Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the thrilling follow-up to my list of underrated GameCube games. Okay, I might be overselling it, but last time we covered numbers 14 through 8. So, let's just jump into the top 7. I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Before I let you know what's in the number 7 spot, I've got to say that it's probably another controversial... What the heck? Who's calling me during the middle of a recording? That's so unprofessional. Hello, MetalBlade427, friend and fellow YouTuber. Are you aware that you're interrupting my recording?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. So, I watched your part 1 of the GameCube list, and I have to know, is Mega Man X Command Mission on it? Because I swear if it's not, I'm disowning you as a friend.
Yeah, sure, it's totally on here, somewhere.
I know that tone, Zero. It's not on your list, is it?
Of course it is. It's, next, actually. But since you seem so passionate about it, how about you talk about it? You'd probably do better than whatever I totally already had written.
Gladly, since you clearly weren't going to. While this is a Mega Man game by title and tone, the gameplay is actually a pretty traditional role-playing game instead, which is probably why it didn't catch on with a lot of fans. Some of you may be asking yourself how it's possible for a well-known action platforming series to make the leap to an RPG, and how it can actually be good. First off, Mario RPG did it, as did the much less good Sonic RPG that Zero put on his DS list, so it is a thing. Plus, the Mega Man Battle Network series tried a similar genre change, very successfully I might add, so it's not even unprecedented for Mega Man in general. Despite the different gameplay, Capcom definitely made sure you knew you were still playing an X game, even if it wasn't the norm. All of the Mega Man X staples are still here. His look, the dash, the X-Buster, a charge shot, and Zero with his Z-Saber. Yes, that's right, this is another excellent example of Zero being playable, which is why I'm baffled it wasn't already on this list.
I'm sorry, okay? I didn't even know this game existed until I met you. Give me a break.
Not forgiven. Can I finish explaining why you should have played this by now? Anyway, aside from the familiar characters, this game also features familiar enemies, such as the Batbones and Mators, and the bosses are still animal-based with the signature warning sign flashing before the fight. All the pieces are there, but laid out as an RPG instead of a platforming shooter.
You have a death wish?
Joining the party with X and Zero, as well as the more recent addition Axel, are new characters like Massimo, Marino, and Cinnamon. The game has a slightly more active turn-based battle system with unique character-specific skills that play to the strength of each character's, and a cool limit break type system for activating super-powered special moves. Characters level up, learn new skills, and get better equipment, similar to the new robot powers and body parts from the core X games. The game does have its flaws, but on a list of underrated games, this one stands out as a good attempt to do something new, as the X series was declining in quality, even if most Mega Man fans immediately dismissed it. Overall, Mega Man X Command Mission is an unappreciated game that I feel could have been a strong spin-off series for X, if Capcom didn't hate Mega Man. But maybe there's still hope for a sequel. Command Mission X does appear as an alternate costume for X in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, so clearly it hasn't been completely forgotten.
I gotta get on with the rest of the list now, but that all sounds pretty convincing. Weird you were so prepared when you called, though. It's almost like that was scripted. Anyone that knows me knows that I actually talk about this game quite a bit as my favorite Sonic game. Unfortunately, it came out during the darkest Sonic timeline, and I think a lot of people just assumed it was going to be bad like all the other 3D games coming out around that time. But while it definitely has its flaws, I think it's one of the only 3D Sonic games that actually gets it right. And it does so in a unique way. The heroes part comes in because you actually control 3 characters at once, split up into speed, flight, and power categories. Speed is used during the traditional Sonic sections through loop-de-loops and downhills. Power is the go-to for battles and for breaking down whatever impedes progress, and flight usually functions as an alternate route or for slower platforming sections. The 3 can also combine their Sonic forces to do cool-looking super moves. The levels themselves are clearly laid out with lots of alternate paths to give the player perceived non-linearity for better replay value, and there's some really cool variety in the landscapes also. As you might have noticed, this game isn't just the Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles show. The game's story actually takes place across 4 separate campaigns, each with 3 playable characters fulfilling the same archetypes. Some are better than others, with Team Rose being specifically garbage, and also weirdly features an annoying, unskippable tutorial stage, despite being the 3rd campaign in order. And don't even get me started on how annoying Big the Cat is. Sonic voice acting has never been amazing, but this guy... Ugh. This guy might single-handedly be why this game isn't more loved. The different campaigns do aid the replayability of the game, though, as each team runs through essentially the same levels, but they're modified slightly so it doesn't feel totally repeated, and the alternate paths in each level means it's easy enough to try out a path you missed the last time. The story cinematics are fun and well animated, bad voice acting aside, and it's cool seeing how the campaigns intersect throughout the span of the game. Overall, the way this game mixes up the traditional Sonic gameplay successfully without losing the speed and fluidity that makes Sonic so great is an impressive undertaking, especially when the series was still struggling to figure out the shift to 3D. It still has some goofy physics quirks sometimes, and the controls can often be finicky, but hey, if it was perfect, it wouldn't be underrated. Plus, that theme song though. Do you like fighting robots? Of course you do. Everyone does. Except Michael Bay, apparently, as he single-handedly destroys our robot-loving childhood one blockbuster at a time. But I digress. I just really hate that guy. This game combines that childhood love of big robot fights with wacky anime style, and an addictive customization system that encourages a just one more battle mindset. It doesn't hurt that the level of customization of the various robots in this game is extremely impressive, and it's really hard to ever fight 2 robots that look the same. The concept of the game is pretty simple. The player is a bottom of the totem pole crime stopper sent out on various missions to fight bad guys in virtual spaces against their robot creations. It's pretty similar to things like Pokemon and Digimon, but the battles are all in real time with set weapon types that can be customized, such as bombs that can be shot out and guided, and drone-type projectiles with various attributes when launched. There are also different body types. Some are neutral in all areas, while others are slower brutes or aerial-focused. There's honestly too many variables involved in robot customization to go over in this short time, but just know it's the main meat of the game. Battles themselves take place inside various virtual arenas, as each robot is launched out of a cannon and then dashes around launching volleys of weapons and dodging enemy fire in an effort to live the longest. It's simple in concept, but really fun in practice. And the computer has pretty impressive AI, which makes it all the more satisfying when you get a good string of hits in and just decimate the computer. In between battles, the player meets a myriad of unique personalities, and while it would have been nice to include voice acting in the game, they're all expressive and animated enough for the on-screen text to still have meaning, even if the dialogue itself can be pretty cheesy. Honestly, there really isn't a lot to say about this game. It's really just one more people need to play because it's got some of the tightest controls and easy to understand concept of that gaming generation. And since it also includes multiplayer, it's a great one to pick up and play with friends. But most importantly right now, I'm kinda just rambling so I can show more footage of the game, because it's the best way to understand it. I guess we can move on now. Just Promise me you'll try this game. I have a confession to make up front here. I don't really like The Simpsons. I've tried to watch it, but I just can't get into it. I don't enjoy the characters, and the art style creeps me out, which is even crazier because I friggin' loved Futurama, and I don't understand how it was canceled like 3 times while Simpsons is still on the air. That being said, Simpsons Hit Run is a surprisingly amazing game that uses a Grand Theft Auto type gameplay loop to complete missions within the universe of the show for what I assume are fan-favorite characters all voiced by their original voice actors. Simple tasks like just going to pick up ice cream from the store can easily devolve into running over pedestrians and jumping around rooftops beating up bees for money. Man, that was a weird sentence. I actually enjoy just exploring Springfield, finding secrets and collecting stuff more than doing the missions, because then it actually becomes a Simpsons game and I kinda check out. Which might sound like I'd rather just play a GTA game, and you're not totally wrong, but this list is about games more people should play, so the mechanics of this game are still worth mentioning alongside the missions themselves. The hit and run aspect is also important, because if you cause too much destruction around town, the police will make chase. And there's really nothing that explains this game more than Homer getting arrested while in his underwear after driving through a bunch of crops. It's also a surprisingly large map that probably includes all of the iconic places from the show. Man, I probably should have gotten someone to do this game for me too. I am not at all qualified to discuss The Simpsons. Point is, this game is great and you should play it whether you like The Simpsons or not, because I think I've proven it's enjoyable either way. Let's move on, I guess.
Everyone duck but me.
Some people might consider this blasphemy. Spyro was originally a PlayStation exclusive after all. And I understand your mindset, but please, put down the pitchforks. We're all friends here. This game is what I consider the last good Spyro game before that awful reboot when they brought in Elijah Wood and made it a weird action epic. And it also just happened to be one of the few in the series that was multi-platform. I assume in an effort to bring a larger audience to the waning series. So that means I can include it on a Gamecube list, so I'll take advantage of that technicality. And let me just say up front that it's also probably my favorite in the series. The original trilogy on PS1 will always hold a special place in my heart, and they hold up extremely well because of a simple but beautiful art style. But after a shaky attempt or two to update the series to this next generation of consoles, they really found that sweet spot of new features but familiar gameplay with this one. The story is pretty much standard Spyro. Someone has threatened the Dragon Kingdom's peace, and they all beg Spyro to fix it for them as they stand around helpless, just staring at the problem. But the script used to tell the story is still just as fun and creative as it's ever been, and features a lot of the same cartoony but satisfying voice acting the series has always been known for up to this point. There's also some genuinely amusing interactions between characters that poke fun at other games in this collectathon adventure genre.
Then how about red coins? No? Heart pieces? Gold tokens? I'm at a loss, Spyro. What exactly do you need to collect?
Let's be honest though. People come to Spyro games for the gameplay, and in this entry it all feels very smooth and fluid as Spyro charges through enemies, breathes fire on everything as haphazardly as a dragon should, and jumps and flies through various platforming sections that push his range of motion to its limits. This new generation of Spyro games, however, brings in a slew of supplementary moves and items for Spyro to use, such as different breath options and elemental bombs that hit a further distance than his close range breath. There's also a bunch of new animal companions for Spyro to share his adventure with, and while they occasionally play very similarly to Spyro, but with their own set of special moves and more contained levels, others completely mix up the gameplay in really fun and interesting ways, and challenge you to collect everything in a time limit so that you have to figure out the most efficient way to clear out the stage quickly. And the different mix of gameplay types in this beautifully imagined world ensures that you never do one thing for too long. This game also mixes up the old go through a portal to get to a new world after a super long loading screen formula by having the world feel like one large, interconnected playground. So as you take out the giant, ominously glowing crystals that impede progress, you just wander into completely new worlds without a loading screen in sight. And while I'd say not all of these worlds are as memorable as some of the classics, there's still a diverse amount of environments that are all beautifully rendered in a way that just wasn't possible in the PS1. Plus, just the fact that the series was still so solidly made, up to the point where they felt the need to reboot it, just makes me sad that more people didn't play this last proper entry in the series. Maybe if they did, we'd still be getting amazing new Spyro games, instead of shoehorning them into the Toys to Life genre and then killing that too. Rest in peace, Spyro. You'll always live on in our hearts, right there with Mega Man in the land of neglected properties. I just made myself sad. I need a second.
Nightfire.
I'm gonna lose a lot of people right here, but I don't get the lasting appeal of GoldenEye. Yes, it was amazing back in the day, and I played it constantly growing up. But it also mostly came down to just laughing at your friends as you chose the facility, ran into one of the rooms with a proximity mine spawn, and blew them up right when they tried to open the door to kill you. That was the multiplayer in that game. It never controlled that well, but we didn't know any better back then, and now people still look back fondly on it as the best Bond game, especially for multiplayer. And I can't help but think none of those people played other Bond games after it. I personally believe this GameCube era was the, pardon the pun, the golden era of James Bond games, as the movies had mostly died after Pierce Brosnan's campy period ended, and they didn't know what to do with the franchise next, so they continued telling totally original Bond stories in video game form, and pretty much all of them were great. I chose this entry over ones like Agent Under Fire and Everything or Nothing, though, because I think it figured out the perfect blend of shooting, stealth, and vehicle action that makes a Bond experience great. These games really did their best to feel like a Bond movie brought to life, complete with a ridiculous opening sequence set to music that kind of sets the tone for the story. In this case, it's all about stopping a Russian satellite from launching a bunch of missiles that will blow up the world, or something. It's an overcomplicated, world-spawning Bond story. The devil is in the details. But as you can tell, they fit this into the Brosnan era, so it has all the over-the-top action sequences, awesome gadgets, and sassy yet sexual encounters with literally every woman in the game.
If I live through this, I'll need a large sake and one hell of a massage.
But while they did their best to digitally recreate the suave look and feel of Brosnan's Bond, they unfortunately didn't get a single actor from that time period to voice their characters. They all do a fairly good job at mimicking, but everyone from Bond to Q to M are all cheaper voice actors to keep production costs down. But if you can suspend that disbelief, you'll find yourself neck deep in an original Bond story that still feels like the actual movie-based classic games. In the game, you hop from set piece to set piece, like donning civilian gear to blend in at a party until it all goes sideways and you have to shoot your way out. And then you're stuck in a confined space trying to shoot down a helicopter using an awesome rocket launcher that you can control the trajectory of. And then you're one over-the-top cinematic cutscene away from an on-rail shooter section down a snowbank. Then you end up at Bond's iconic car and have a driving sequence complete with guided rockets and smoke screens. More cutscenes, another stealth section where you fail the mission if anyone dies. Every mission in the game feels like something completely new in a way that games just don't accomplish anymore. And while the graphics are nothing to write home about, the tight controls and varied gameplay still held up really well when I was playing it again for this video. But of course, all Bond games are made or broken on their multiplayer. So if I'm really going to talk crap on GoldenEye, I should compare that. And special shout out to my friend Chris for doing a few matches with me, because we both agreed that it felt just as good as it ever did. The multiplayer maps in this game are some of the best ever made, with expansive locations and a lot of clever little hiding spots if you know where to look. There's also some really good weapon variety, and a few cool additions such as remote-controlled murder gadgets that leave the character vulnerable to attack as you fly around trying to sneak attack enemies from above. Basically, everything from the single player is available in multiplayer, from using gadgets to get around, to the aforementioned awesome controllable rocket launcher, and it's even more fun when you can chase your friends around the map and watch them squirm. Sorry, Chris. I will say, though, that computer AI can be really weird sometimes, as it doesn't always seem like they play by the rules, especially as they... Oh god, why would you shoot a rocket launcher inside a ski resort? You monster! Anyway, the point is, this game is very good, and I don't think enough people gave this generation of Bond games enough credit. I'd assume because they didn't have a movie tie-in to help promote them, but that's a shame. I will say, though, stop at this one. Don't waste time with the garbage that came after it, like the bad cash-in GoldenEye Rogue Agent. Don't even get me started. Let me just get this out of the way. I know this is the top-selling game on this list. Y'all think it shouldn't be number one. Most of you probably don't even think it deserves to be on this list at all. But I'm sorry. You're wrong. This is no longer an opinion video. It's fact. And you need to change your dumb, wrong ways. Alright, now with that totally serious disclaimer out of the way, let's move on. It seems like everyone hates on this game because it's, quote, not a real Star Fox game. And I honestly have more thoughts on this than I can really fit in this video, especially after I spent way too long gushing about Nightfire. Sorry. But for now, let's focus on the main points. This game came out pretty early in the Gamecube lifecycle, and it's easily still one of the best looking games in the system. Look at the fur detail on Fox, and the facial expressions they pull off for these anthropomorphic characters, and the ground detail as you explore the world. This might be Rare's last game on a Nintendo console, but you can tell they went out with a bang. And while I agree it's a shame Nintendo felt the need to tack the Star Fox brand on after it was originally developed as a new IP, I don't think that's enough reason to hate on this game. It expands the Star Fox lore in interesting ways and shows Fox actually exploring a planet, which is something bounty hunters do, by the way. It also plays really well, and that shouldn't be discounted either just because of the playable character. Whether you're running around in the first temple as Crystal or exploring the rest of the game as Fox, the combat feels fluid, if not a little simple, and the puzzle sections are satisfying in a way that few other Zelda clones can match. You do run around collecting things, like in most Rare games, but this is paired with some really unique puzzle mechanics, such as using your Dino Companion to open a passage for you, or using the environment to blow a hole in a wall. And while there's unfortunately only one button to match abilities to, the quick select menu means you're never more than a few buttons away from any action you want to do. So it keeps the game moving along since you're not constantly going into a start menu to manage your items and equipment like in a lot of other games. You do get some really cool upgrades too, as Fox stumbles across a magical staff and then gets new powers for it throughout the adventure that allow him to pull off more complicated stunts and access new areas. There's a natural progression system that speaks to me as a huge Zelda fan in a way that the space shoot-'em-up Star Fox games usually don't. Though I do agree with everyone else that the actual space shoot-'em-up sections of this game are the worst parts of it. I think the story in this game actually works better with this format also, though, as they can tell a larger, world-spanning narrative rather than the same, "We gotta stop Fox and his lackeys." "Oh no, what's Uncle Andros doing here?" or whatever. My Star Fox knowledge is about as limited as my Simpsons knowledge. Like I said, I think I need to do a longer video just focus on this game. But in short, I think this game gets the short end of the magical staff because it feels like a tacked-on skin of another franchise. But I don't see why that's a bad thing, or why it should be condemned for that. It doesn't make it any less of a good game. And if we condemned every other entry in a series that tried to do something new, we wouldn't have gotten 3, soon-to-be 4 Metroid Prime games. So maybe we should all look at things with a more open mind rather than dismissing anything that doesn't match preconceived notions. Also, as a final note, how can you hate this game when it has the best, well, second best shopkeeper in any game? He sounds like he's ripped right out of a Monty Python sketch. It's great.
Okay, I'll sell it to you.
Well, there you go, another list down. As always, let me know how I did, what I missed, what your personal list is. Like I said, I know there's some blatant omissions, such as Beautiful Joe and Baten Kaitos, but I never played those and would have no fond words about them. And I didn't want this entire list to just be scripted bits where my friends take over. Though, I do need to take this moment to give a special thanks to MetalBlade427 for handling his Mega Man entry like a champ, as always. Go check him out for more. He even has a whole series about Mega Man tips and facts, as well as an old Let's Play of Command Mission, which is where that footage came from. But yeah, that's all I've got this time. No funny bits to go out on or anything. I kind of blew the one good pun that could be used for the GameCube already, so yeah, guess I'll just go now. Oh, until next time, have fun. I said, stop poking me. What's going on here? What are you doing down there? Huh? Seems like we got caught in some kind of dual screen video bit. Except I got the short end of the stick because I'm down here with this poorly implemented touch gimmick. Well, your nonsense is affecting me too. We gotta sync up. That's how all this dual screen stuff works. So, sort it out down there or you'll ruin the whole video.